Good evening and welcome to the Smyrna Town Council workshop to set our agenda for the July council meeting. Before we move into our items of discussion, I'm going to ask Mark Adkins to do our prayer and Tim Morrell to do our pledge. If you'll stand with me, please.
Let's bow. Father, we come to you today. We're grateful. We're thankful for everything that you give us in our lives and you bless us with. Thank you for this great town and the people that serve this town, the employees of this town. Father, today we had a special event in Annapolis, Maryland. We just pray for those people that were shot and killed today. And Father, that this country is just in a place where we need your hand, we need your guidance. There's so much that goes on in our world today that shocks us all. Lord, we also thank you for those that were there to be first responders and the firemen and policemen, those that took on the scene and helped those people and helped those families. Father, we're thankful for those that do that here for us and keep us protected. We ask that you go with us now. Let us make good decisions for our town. Continue to bless us as you have. We ask it in your name. Amen.
We will face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mark and Tim. Okay, we will move into our agenda. Our first item is consideration of an ordinance relative to the amendment of the previously approved PRD for property located on tax map 33, parcel 58.01, containing approximately 33.44 acres. It's requested by Green Tree LLC. The property is located south of Ryan Hill Drive and east of Hendricks Hill Drive, adjacent to the Green Tree, Mountain Brook, and Summer Ridge subdivisions. This is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, there's not been any changes on this. Since you looked at it on first reading, this would amend the PUD to go from 130 lots down to 11 lots. And 8 of those 11 lots would be served through a private street that would be an extension of Ryan Hill Drive. Again, we included all the pattern book and everything that was submitted with it. But again, no changes since first reading.
Okay. Questions for him on this? Kevin, it just left me all of a sudden. I'm sorry. I'm going to have name tags across there. Any questions for Kevin?
So on there, one of the things was that the fire department had some concerns, and I know you said that's going to be addressed, but at what point in the planning will that be addressed?
That'll be a part of when they submit their subdivision plat
Okay.
to the planning commission. They'll have to, each lot, because those 8 lots are going to, there's some very steep topography there. And so they're going to have to really address it with their preliminary plat and then their construction plans
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
Are they aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, item 2, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with CityWorks PLL ELA relative to permitting software for the codes department. Steve?
Yes, good evening. Yeah, so we've been using CityWorks pretty heavily for the last few years, but we're going to be able to use it even more once we have unlimited logins for some more people to use the software. I guess you would say expansion of their contract will allow us to do that, as well as gain some other facets of the software that we have not had access to in the past.
Okay. Questions for Steve on this?
I did see something in here about the unlimited licensing. What is that in one of the addendums? Because of the one when I read it, it said it was still limited. The number of users.
Right. Well, I don't really know exactly what you saw, but I don't have that, whatever you're seeing in front of you right now. But we should have unlimited logins for. In other words, that's what this will get us. Right now, we are limited to 15 logins. This will get us unlimited.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to item 3, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Rollins Excavating Company, LLC, relative to the stormwater general construction and concrete work.
By mutual agreement, we're requesting that the annual contract for stormwater general construction concrete work with Rollins Excavating be extended for a period of 1 year from 8/9/18 through 8/8/19. This will be the first extension of the original contract dated August 8, 2017. Terms and conditions of the contract will remain unchanged, and we're obviously recommending that the mayor sign that agreement.
Okay, questions for Mr. Gill on this? We'll move on to item 4, which is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with Sessions Paving Company relative to the annual roadway patching.
We're requesting that the annual roadway patching contract with Sessions Paving Company be extended for a period of 1 year from August 23rd, 18 through August 22nd, 19. This will be the second extension of the original contract dated August 23rd, 2016. Terms and conditions of this contract will remain unchanged, and we're recommending that Mayor enter into an agreement with Sessions for an annual roadway patching contract.
Okay, questions for Mr. Gill on this? Then we will move on to item 5, which is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a proposal from Gresham Smith and Partners relative to additional engineering design services for the Sam Ridley Parkway Corridor roadway widening project. Mr. Gill?
Yes, ma'am. Cost proposal from Gresham Smith and Partners for additional engineering design service for Sam Ridley Parkway Corridor roadway widening project and Potomac Extension project. What is, obviously, we're all aware that through the good work of several people down there and the mayor, we've gone back to TDOT and the MPO, and it's highly likely we'll have 3 lanes in each direction with curb and gutter, and that'll be extended all the way from Sam Ridley to the old Nashville Highway. And that obviously will result in additional funding being needed for design work for Gresham Smith. Plus, they've got to go back and rework some drainage issues. So we're recommending that that you authorize the mayor to sign a contract proposal with Gresham Smith and Partners for engineering design services associated with Sam Ridley Parkway Corridor and roadway widening project.
Questions? Go ahead.
I have a couple. On the schedule, on the letter that was written by Gresham, and the schedule that's given under schedule issues and concerns, the timeline, they said, possibly would not be feasible. Have you looked at how to make it feasible, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, you sat in on a meeting, yeah.
That all, so initially we were trying to get dollars allocated that have to be allocated through MPO. So you've got dollars through MPO, and then you have dollars through TDOT themselves. TDOTs don't have to be allocated till December of 19.
Okay.
We're good there. We've already been in talks with Michelle and the people at MPO in regards to funding and what we can do, because we're looking at, rather than being ready to go by October, it's probably going to be more like March.
Okay.
So in speaking with them, they don't think there's going to be an issue, and we'll talk more about what we'll be able to do funding-wise through
Okay.
them.
So the
and
schedule
it could
will
be, the schedule should be able to continue on as follows.
Okay.
It just may be that we have to get the next pot of money if we can't figure something out.
Okay.
So they did not seem to be, at MPO, did not seem to be very concerned.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other thing is, in regards to schedule, a lot of it's going to depend on the turnaround from TDOT. And that is not just a problem with us. It is a problem across the state. They did say we let them know of our concern with that. Commissioner Schroer had sent a letter out to everybody that was on the MPO board, wanting dollars that were allocated to be spent, and we said we're ready to move, and we'll just need your help in regards to turnaround through the TDOT offices. So they felt like that they were going to be on top of it, and Whitney gave us that assurance as well.
Okay.
So I will say TDOT has been great to work with through this process, and they have been very helpful and very accommodating in regards to helping us with more money to make sure that we get curb and gutter and 3-lane all the way from 24 to Old Nashville Highway.
Okay.
Other questions? We good? I'll move on to item 6, which is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a proposal from Gresham Smith and Partners relative to the Potomac Place Extension Project. Mr. Gill?
Yes, the change in Sam Ridley resulting in us separating Potomac Place as a separate project, which ultimately was a good thing. And what we've had to do is go back and separate the design charges. So Design Services Potomac Place Extension Project to be designed as a separate project. Cost that'll be $13,000. We're recommending that you authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Gresham Smith and Partners for these engineering design services associated with the Potomac Place Extension. Obviously, that's between Sam Ridley and Cheney Road.
Questions on this?
I had a question on that, only because I think a sentence was left off or not completed under the same thing, the schedule issues and concerns. It had to do with the easement for the Texas. Can I just read it to you?
Sure.
It says, "The current project alignment crosses a gas line easement formerly owned by Texas Eastern Transmission, which was recently," and then there's a period. And then it says, "Approval to cross the easement could delay the project advertising and bidding." And so I wasn't sure what they were trying to say. Recently, they figured out who owned it and were in the process of getting the grant of the easement. It doesn't say, so I just wondered what that sentence was supposed to read.
We're acquiring right away from the was it River Life Church? I don't think there's any issues with easement from Jeff.
From Texas Eastern?
They still have to,
Go ahead.
From Texas Eastern would be different, but from River of Life, they just have to donate.
Yeah, donate, we got an agreement out there for them, but what about the easement from Texas Eastern?
The Piedmont now, though?
Yeah, I've not dealt with them at all, Mike. Have you?
I don't,
Is it protecting the road across the right of way?
yeah.
The gas line easement with Texas.
I'm not even sure the gas line
Just
is.
have to get an approval and permit or something across
Yeah.
the road.
Of all the meetings we've had, that's never been discussed a single time.
Oh.
I don't recall. But anyway, that's something we'll pursue
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't
Sorry.
understand
Yeah,
the
sorry
sentence.
about that.
It was originally drawn with a roundabout in there, and we first just changing it to a T intersection.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna, we've asked Gresham to take that out. First of all, it would require that we secure right away from the apartment complex over there, plus it's probably an additional $400,000, and since that's a local project, we thought it'd be best just to use a T intersection.
Have they looked at to figure any idea whether it'll have to be lighted or anything further down the road, or is it too early to tell about something like that?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little early to tell. Yeah.
okay. We will move on to item 7, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Jones Brothers Contractors LLC relative to the annual asphalt paving. Mr. Gill?
Yeah, pardon me. On May 10th, bids were received for the annual asphalt paving contract for a period of 1 year from 7/1/18 to 6/30/19, including 2 extensions of 1 year each. The recommended low bidder was Jones Brothers Contractor based on top 2 items, 411-E mix and crack sealant, which are the bulk of the contract. The bid tabulation and the bids are enclosed for your review. We're recommending that we allow the mayor to enter into a contract with Jones Brothers Contract relative to the annual asphalt paving contract.
Questions for Mr. Gill on this? We'll move on to item 8, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Klein Sweeney Associates relative to the installation of the roof over skylight at the Criminal Justice Center.
Who's got that one?
Mr. Gill?
Hold on just a second. I don't think that's in my packet. Yeah, there it is. Sorry about that. Attached is a proposal of the fees, service, and scope for Klein Sweeney Associates prepare construction documents, installation and construction administration services for a metal roof over the existing skylight at the Criminal Justice Center. The amount was $10,000. Again, we're recommending that you authorize the mayor to execute agreement with Klein Sweeney Associates for installation of roof over skylight at the Criminal Justice Center.
I have a couple questions about this. I know that they had concerns with heat and then with noise. And so I'm assuming this will take care of both of those. Go ahead,
I'm sorry. No, you go.
I just want to know if they would take care of that. And then, is there going to be any time that the court's not going to be able to meet because of doing this?
I think that they're going to be able to do it while they're out of session, and it should take care of the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions about this?
When you spoke, Mr. Gill, you did say 10,000. Ours says 12.
I thought I said 12, but
Okay.
that's entirely possible I said 10.
Okay. It's 12, though. All right.
Okay.
Okay, item 9 is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with CenturyLink relative to the voice and internet services. Robert.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a renewal contract. We're actually looking at increasing capacity of our internet service and then consolidating a couple of voice circuits, and this will be for a 3-year contract. We've been with CenturyLink over the past 15 years or so, in addition to AT&T, and it's just a continuation of their services.
Okay, questions for Robert on this? Okay, then we'll move on to item 10, which is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a lease agreement with Smith Turf and Irrigation relative to the golf course maintenance equipment. Hal?
Yes, ma'am. This is the second of 2 equipment leases that we have. They're 4-year leases. This one expires July 28th, 2018. We opened the RFPs on May the 15th. Due to the nature of this type of a lease where we release equipment that you'll see in the RFP, Smith Turf was the only company that was capable of submitting a complete proposal. I would like to ask the mayor, council to allow the mayor to sign this lease agreement with Smith Turf and Irrigation.
Okay, questions for Hal on this? We'll move on to item 11, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the increase in the annual salary of the Town of Smyrna Municipal Court Clerk, and this is a first reading. Jeff Craig, or are you handling this?
Well, I can handle the first part, Mayor. As to the ordinance, Jeff Craig may want to comment as to the salary study, but anytime that we're going to change the salary of the judge or of the town clerk, those positions require us to do so by ordinance, by the town council. Would be 2 readings, obviously, and it must occur before the new term commences, which would be September 1st. So this is why we bring it to you in July and August readings.
Okay.
And Jeff, you may want to talk to the proposal.
I'd be glad to. We did, some research earlier on in the year about elected officials' pay, and the court clerk was one of those positions that we did look at, and compared some of the other positions in the state that are similar, that have the same amount of dockets and everything else similar to what we handle here, and that's kind of where we came up with the pay for that position.
Okay. Questions for Jeff on this? I think as a council, one of the things we try to do, whether it's for an elected position or whether it's for an employee here with the town, we want to make sure that the pay is similar to those of like jobs, and I think we've done a good job of trying to make sure that that happens, and I think it's important that we continue to do that. So any questions about this? I think we discussed this at length at the retreat and had quite a bit of questions answered from Jeff, and I think we all felt pretty comfortable with it. So anything else you'd like to add or ask? Okay, then we will put that on the agenda. We'll move on to item 12, which is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute an addendum to Capture Point Community Pass software agreement relative to the Parks and Recreation Department credit card processing. Mike.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you well know, a couple of months ago, the town went with a new gateway and processing service, LexisNexis, and during that time, we were working with them and found that our software wasn't compatible with that company. And during that time also, we found out that our park software that we use is going to have their own provider. So they're basically doing that themselves. So what we provided here is an addendum to their existing contract that was approved back in 2016, and put it before legal as well. But our contract's going to run out with USA Payment and Authorize.net, so we're just doing an addendum to make sure our services are still intact.
Questions for Mike on this? We'll put that on the agenda and move on to 13, which is consideration of a resolution approving funding for nonprofit organizations for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Rex?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution stating the agency, purpose, and amount must be approved before any funds can be distributed to nonprofit agencies according to guidelines established by the Comptroller of the Treasury in the state of Tennessee. And we're asking for approval of this resolution.
Okay, this is something we'd have to do every year, so questions for Rex on this? Then we will put this on the agenda to make sure we're in compliance. Move on to item 14, which is consideration of a resolution to reimburse expenses for a future debt issue. Rex?
The 2019 fiscal year budget planned for financing several capital projects with bonded debt. I've included a list plus the Potomac Place Extension project. We will probably have expenditures related to these projects before the issuance of the debt. This resolution will allow the town to legally reimburse itself for these expenditures when the debt proceeds become available. We ask that you approve this resolution.
Okay. Questions for Rex on this? I think it's pretty standard each year, so we will put that on the agenda and move to item 15, which is consideration of the declaration of surplus items. Rex?
Attached is a list of the surplus items that need to be sold at auction. The list includes 11 vehicles that have been removed from service and old furniture from Town Hall. The town seeks permission to conduct an online auction to sell surplus items. The auction will be advertised in the Daily News Journal, on the website, and Channel 3. All the surplus items will be sold through GovDeals, an online auction company.
Questions for Rex about these treasures? No? Okay, we will put that on the agenda. Item 16, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Richards Manufacturing relative to large gas meters. Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
This should actually say large gas meter sets, not large gas meters. I apologize for the typo. When we bid this out originally, the company we had been dealing with, we'd been waiting almost a year to get these sets in. So we rebid this, and as you'll see on the list, some of them use the same company, and you're talking about a 40-week lead time. So we got hooked up with another manufacturer and have a much better price and lead time, so that's what we're recommending.
Questions for Mike on his gas meter sets?
What is the difference in a gas meter and a gas meter set?
The
Why is
set,
it significant that you say set?
the setter is the thing the meter goes in.
Okay. Not the meter itself, it's
Nope.
the...
Correct. Holds
Okay.
the meter in place.
Are you all set, HG?
We're all set right now. Not just me, all of us.
Item 17 is authorization to proceed with engineering design and right-of-way acquisition for the Olive Branch Sewer Extension Project. Mr. Gill?
At the last council meeting, we presented, and you folks asked us to track down some information, which we've done. And what we'll be asking tonight, and I want you to be mindful that we did put in the budget money for engineering and right-of-way, so it's in place in the event that we decide to proceed. But what we're asking tonight is for you to bless us to proceed with this project. We think there are many, many, many reasons to do this and very few not to. I think the staff is, as I said last time, is convinced that this is the way to travel for various reasons, and I'm sure we'll get into that in just a second. But Mr. Strange can kind of give you the nuts and bolts of what we'll be doing. And Mike, if you would, take it away.
Yes, sir. I put a package on your all's table there, and you can look at the big screen. One of the things that was asked is what property in this basin has already been developed. So on sheet 1 and on the screen, you can see the property with the dashed lines that's already developed property. The rest of this property, Zone A and Zone C is the main Olive Branch trunk. Zone B would be the ad alternate that we would bid. We are having quite a few people contact us in Zone B about development. So all of this would ultimately hit the Olive Branch line and go back out gravity. If you go to the next sheet.
And what did you say again in regards to what property of that's been annexed?
That's the next sheet.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Yes, sheet 2. The dash lines show the properties that are already annexed into the city, okay? So wherever you see the dash lines, that is property that is already annexed. Again, as you go, follow the red line down through there from the 24-inch to the 18-inch. all of that, you would have a pretty significant property there in the green. Very small thing that there's already people living there, but most of the undeveloped property will be in Zone B and towards Zone C. Okay, any questions there?
Kevin, do you have any idea on the ones that's already annexed, how many parcels that is, and how many are developed and how many are undeveloped?
Yeah, Mark and I talked about that. The best we can tell, as far as lots that have been approved, and this is approved meaning that ranges from the PUD's been approved and nothing's happened to houses are built and people are living there. So we've got about 1,151 lots that have been approved in somewhere in that range. And there's about 80 acres that's just zoned R1, which we have never had any kind of plat or PUD of any kind or anything submitted. So that's another, at 2.5 units per acre, which is about what it averages in this area. That's another couple hundred there. So somewhere between 1,300, 1,350 home sites that are either, again, have ranging from nothing there yet to the homes built and people living there. So that are already there, that are in the city already.
Okay, and what about that's not annexed? How much are we talking?
Well, we had estimated about 5,000 remaining undeveloped lots. So of those 1,300 or so, you probably have about 700 to 800 that are not built yet. So probably 4,500 or so in that range that's not developed yet.
Not annexed, not developed.
No, I'm sorry. That's not, the undeveloped lots is 5,000, a little over 5,000. So not annexed and not developed would be in the 3,700 range. That's not annexed yet.
Okay. Okay.
The area, the lower part of the map that's not colored in at all is mostly inside the city. It's just not in that drainage basin. Is that correct?
Yes, north of that area that's north, that's the Rock Springs Basin. And most of that is in the city, but there is some that's not.
No, I'm talking about the south side of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, south, that's a different basin. Yes, that's a completely different drainage basin. Most of that is not in the city.
Just out of curiosity, what is that right below?
South of the bottom
South of the,
line.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
South underneath the diagonal lines, the very bottom right
Is that the
side.
racetrack? No, that's ball fields. That's
Stewart's Creek School.
That's Stewart's
Is that
Creek.
Stewart's
That's
Creek?
Stewart's Creek Schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick up the road.
It is. Okay.
We're ready?
We're ready.
Okay, if you switch over to sheet 3. Now, what this is, if you'll look at the bottom, right there, that's the Woodmont lift station, okay? The orange line coming up is the force main. The yellow line is the gravity that goes back to Rock Springs. Now, with all the things that we have on the books that have been approved, that will put Woodmont at capacity, okay? So, if the council chooses not to proceed with this project, Woodmont and these lines that I just described would have to be upgraded. Now, what that means is these lines go up Montgomery Way, a mile long, Kevin? Roughly?
Yeah,
roughly a mile. That is in the road at Montgomery Way. Obviously, the upgrade of the lines would be on a developer to pay for. However, that's going to be pretty difficult with the sewer in the middle of the road like that, and it's going to make a mess there because, obviously we would try to pipe burst, but you have to dig out all the manholes, tie everything in, and tie in any lateral that goes up through there. So If Woodmont had to be upgraded and the lines had to be upgraded, that's what we would be dealing with there.
Mike, you know, in other words, it'd be extremely disruptive to the
Yes, sir.
neighbors, to the traffic, et cetera. But in addition, you talked last time about the elimination of pump stations. That's another consequence of not upgrading the line. Can you talk about that for a second?
I will. In this basin here, switch back to sheet number 1. Sorry.
We were going to dance.
You're looking at a minimum of 3 lift stations we can eliminate. Obviously, Woodmont being the best, or the biggest. Then you have Woodcrest Hills over here to the left. Woodcrest 6 right there, and eventually Villages of Green Tree right here. Okay, and remember, with each of these stations comes maintenance cost. Over the last 5 years, we've spent approximately $300,000 on maintenance. That does not include labor. You can probably double that cost to include labor. So we would eliminate that. And remember, anything that's developed here also would have to have a lift station to come back and hit Woodmont. So, you know, we're trying to remove lift stations and that maintenance and labor associated with it, not add more. So I think that's a pretty big deal, us trying to get rid of these lift stations and let the sewer fall the way it naturally needs to. Any more questions there?
Mike, typically these lift stations are paid for and put in, I would assume, by the developer.
That's correct.
So moving forward, knowing that lift stations are so costly, do we need to be prudent about approving anything in the future that has them, even though they're being paid for by development?
Improve anything in the future to do what now? I'm sorry.
Should we be prudent about approving things that are adding lift stations? I know the topography out there is pretty tricky. The elevations get high and low in different spots, and I don't think we can do without them. But this kind of makes us see that they're pretty costly
And,
too.
you know, I think that brings up a good point. Woodmont was never meant to be permanent. The lift station at Woodmont was a temporary fix until we could get the Olive Branch sewer in. Of course, this station was put in prior to me coming here, but, you know, in speaking with staff, this was always meant to be a temporary solution for growth until we could get the gravity in, which is ultimately what you want, is the gravity.
There's a lot of untapped property out there, and it looks as if with the topo out there, we could see future lift stations involved.
Now, within this basin, there is going to be some undeveloped property. The estimate on the number of lots, that's a percentage. It's not 100% because of some of the topography there. So, you know, it is possible you may have a small lift station to pump it up over a hill, or may not even be a buildable portion. So with that, you know, with the estimate on the lots, that's, I think A and B were 75% developable, and then C was 65%. So we went on the conservative side there to pull some of that back.
It's just questions we need to be asking from a planning
Sir.
perspective going forward.
Do you see this being a special assessment district?
Yes, sir. And I think we discussed that a little bit last time, what we would ask the council to approve on special assessment district would be $4,500 per lot, and that is in line with what Murfreesboro charges in assessment districts like this. So we felt like that was right in line with what we needed to do.
If we move forward with this, I'll be honest, unless somebody's willing to be annexed in the city, I would rather not allow them to tie onto our lines unless they're willing to come in. How do you all feel about that?
I guess I'm questioning from a development perspective why they wouldn't. I know step systems are available out there, but their yield for the dollars they'll pay for that property, it almost requires they tap into sewer.
But
Are there step systems out there now?
But what I'm saying is, I don't want them to tap into the sewer without being annexed.
Oh, I agree.
If they're not willing to tie onto the sewer,
Right. Yeah, I think that's going to come hand in hand. I don't think have we seen that before? Have we had anybody ever
But we
tap
talked
that's not?
about, we talked about outside rates and all that. I just want to make sure that
Yeah, this
that's
is
not
kinda new
something
territory,
that we're considering. I want to make sure that they're annexed if they're going to be tying onto our sewer.
We do have outside the city rates.
And I know there's some special instances with that with other municipalities when they're needing us to do, and I consider that different than if they have the ability to be annexed by the city.
Well, we don't have entire subdivisions that are not in, do we? I mean,
No, I mean, we don't have, I mean, it's primarily, it was for the joint with Laverne.
Yeah.
Situation, it's primarily the situation we've had.
But Mark, I agree with you. I mean, I can't imagine someone, if it's there, them not being interested in tying on. Of course, Dr. Burns has about, 650, 700 lots.
780
And
lots.
he really
I
wanted
think.
to participate in the project, but for reasons I won't discuss, he couldn't and didn't. And I know that, he sees the value.
What timeline for the sewer to get done?
I think, what has to happen first is designing right away. You're probably looking 6-7 month-ish, sometime in that time frame. We would probably be ready to go out to bid late spring, early summer, and then you're looking at a 2-year time frame probably, unless we bid it and multiple contractors get it and do it a section at a time. That would speed up where they're all working at the whole thing at the same time, but you're looking at least a 2-year time frame on construction.
In regards to return on investment, what are we really looking at build-out wise?
I think with the 4,500 assessment district, you're looking at a little over 1,300 lots. I believe 1,333, I think, was the exact number. With multiple developers out here, I don't think it's unreasonable, and Kevin and I discussed this a little bit, to build 200 homes a year, so you're looking a little over 6-year payback on our investment, depending on bid cost of construction, of course. That's what the estimated $6 million construction cost.
And I think you mentioned this kind of feeds back into the whole water treatment idea as well, right? I mean, having customers that we sort of need now that we've made those expansions. So.
Well, yeah, we're expanding the wastewater plant, so the more customers we can add on and try to help offset some of that with the rates they would pay, the better off we are, of course.
Concerns with that cutting down on number of years that we thought?
I think it will cut down a little bit, but I think you're going to have growth in this area anyway. Maybe not as quickly as if you have gravity there, because when you build gravity, they'll come.
Right.
But you're still seeing growth in this area. We're just adding pump stations to do it.
Okay. Is there more you have on the sewer side? I think we had other questions, but I want to make sure
I think
you're
the
through your
only
part.
thing I have left is the last page, which is the fire station. Could it be covered with the existing fire halls there? There's 2 there, and based on we worked with Ferris Belcher from the fire department. Spoke to Chief Bill also, and I believe we have coverage there on the fire station where we wouldn't have to add another fire hall.
Chief, you're comfortable?
We can't cover it with our existing stations. I do have some concerns in some of the areas, the roads. I assume this is all consolidated utility for water. And I have concerns about needed fire flow in the areas. And with some of the other annexations that we've done out to, say, Annabelle Road out to Independence, at some point I think the town should consider putting another service company in place for Station 6 to help cover some of this area.
Chief, usually we take these, I know from planning, Tim and I, we take these on a kind of case by case as they're brought into us, right? So if there's a development that is coming out, for example, the Morton Lane area. I know this has come up before. We always had to make sure we checked, of course, with you and your department to make sure there was enough forced water there in case of grass fires or house fires or whatever it is. So if I'm hearing you, do we need to look at that on the surface now, or is the case by case still something that we can do?
I'm really not sure where the appropriate time to look at it. Like you said, Vice Mayor, it has come up before, and it's a concern to us. And the water, the needed fire flow is well, it's a problem right now.
And what we're seeing too is with sewer, you get a much deeper yield on density. So you have homes that are really compacting closer and closer and closer together, and you're seeing more of that. That's the kind of the new way to build. So I know from talking to Chief before in some planning meetings, space between homes, what they're made out of, can they get between these properties if they needed to, and so forth. So this creates, when you're putting sewer in out there, it creates a lot of that. I think from a planning perspective, we've got to make sure we're making notations that fire protection is paramount. We've got to be able to give that to them. It's a service we've got to be able to give. So all that factors into, I think, putting a basin out there and watching the growth come. When the growth comes, you're going to start getting that density. And so I understand Chief's concerns.
Kevin, explain that process to me when we're dealing with CUD and there's not enough flow for and pressure for the fire department. How do you go through that?
Well, if they can't provide flow, we typically don't approve it. I mean, we've got a situation now in the Cedar Hills development and they're working, the developer and CUD are working together to rectify that situation, but they have plats that they can't build on. They won't even allow them to record until they get that taken care of, and CUD tells us they've got it taken care of.
So how many of these lots do you think that's an issue for that we're talking about out of the number you've given us?
You know, I don't know. I know that we kind of discounted some of the steeper slopes out of it that as kind of is not being developed or developed at a very low density. So I really can't know that I could give you a number as to how many of those 3,700 lots or whatever don't have adequate fire flow, because I really don't know what CUD system is out there and where they've got good flow and where they don't. That's certainly something we could talk to them about. I know that the upgrade is for the properties along Morton Lane. Well, I would think would help some of this area, at least the western part of this area, because it's coming from what's the little church out there? Giles Creek,
yeah.
From that area. So I mean that kind of falls into some of this basin. So that upgrade is probably going to upgrade part of the service to some of this basin already with that upgrade. But
That's where it breaks right there, isn't it?
It may
Giles
be.
Creek services that side, and doesn't Amel?
I know there is that serves. They had to go back that far,
Yeah.
in order to get back to
get Cedar Hills.
their pressure zone. I think is what. Mark
But then
might-
Consolidated has the lines up near Amelville that's feeding into Amberton. Is that right?
Right.
So it kind of breaks right in there.
There is a break in there somewhere, but I think some of that I don't know for sure. But I think some of this basin may be helped by that upgrade. I don't know, but
I know we're off the subject a little bit, but just some questions.
So the flow is one thing that's somewhat of a concern. One of the things that was brought up also is roads, and I think that's a concern that all of us have had. What about, we had asked last time if this could also be included in the corridor study, if we could add this on for the corridor study.
Kevin called Gresham Smith the other day, and they're going to give us some pricing to add that as part of the study.
we don't have that number yet from them.
Yeah.
But they're certainly something we could do.
But just from hearing the positives, much more positives than there are any negatives, but it's something we probably we need to take a look at doing this in the future. I think if we budgeted to go ahead and do engineering work and things like that, it's not going to hurt us to begin to do that so we can get some of these things solidified and answered. Obviously, there's a lot of growth that's going to take place out that way. And in the past, I think we've allowed, I don't say we allowed, but we've sort of let development dictate to us where the lines are going to run. And because it saved us money. So.
You know, one of the things that we've discussed multiple times is that they're going to build regardless if we run the sewer or not. And they're going to be pumping sewage to the lines. It's going to result in tearing up Woodmont. And they're going to build just as many homes probably. And they're going to have septic tanks and step systems, which is pretty much what's driven our philosophy to say we need to do this. We've positioned ourselves wonderfully with regards to being able to pay for it. You know, we've looked into SRF funding. We may or may not get it, but if not, we can pay cash from the enterprise fund.
Well, I think we've sort of grown to the point now that we need to start being a little more proactive instead of reactive and allowing development to drive what we do, especially with the assessments and the way we can get our return in a relatively short period of time in a fast-growing community like we are. Just kind of makes sense to me.
Well, you know, one thing to take into account is that growth does not pay for itself. It just does not pay for itself, but at least by us driving it, it may make the impact of it a little bit less expensive for us. But
initially.
Initially, right. But by the same token, I mean, you know, there's still, I don't know, other factors that concern me. You know, I continually ask about the Meadowbrook lift station and being able to, yes, we can get this into town, but then after we get it into town, we've got to get it to the sewer plant. And, you know, just reassure me one more time exactly how we're going to do that and a general idea, I guess, of what it's going to cost for us to upgrade the line after it's in town.
It seems like all we discuss is sewer. Meadowbrook's next. Once this project is completed and we have it at the end of the 5-year plan now, to take a look at Meadowbrook and potentially gravity it to the plan as well and eliminate Meadowbrook.
And that's probably our biggest lift station in town now.
It's
correct?
one of them, if not second biggest.
Second biggest. Where's the biggest?
One arc, Nissan.
Okay.
Is there a problem if this gets to Meadowbrook? That we're going to have an issue before we can alleviate the problem?
I don't think by the time this built, you know, if you're doing 200 homes a year, I don't think so. But again, Meadowbrook's at the end of the 5-year plan now, when we need to start taking a look at that and seeing what we need to do and hopefully eliminate Meadowbrook altogether, kind of like we're doing Woodmont or want to do Woodmont and gravity it to the plant.
Does it need to be done prior to?
Not prior to, but soon thereafter.
Other questions about this? So exactly what is it, since it's already in the budget, what is it exactly that you're asking from us? Because if this is already budgeted, is there a need for us to vote on it?
Jeff and I discussed that, perhaps so, just to go on record that, you know, you guys have, you know, we were respectful to you to say, hey, you know, would you mind blessing this project? And all we're asking is that you allow us to proceed with engineering and right-of-way acquisition. And at some point, we'll go out for bid and we'll come back with pricing for the project. And if it's, we think it's what, 5 to 6 million? Six-ish. If it comes back 10 or 11 or 12, you know, you're probably going to say, hey, we just can't afford it. And certainly, I think everyone would understand that, but we would have at least engineered the project, secured right away, and maybe do portions of it to that point. So that's what we're asking.
Is there, process-wise, in regards to right-of-way acquisition, if right-of-way's done and then it's decided to do something different or go a different direction, how does that work? You're just kind of out of luck that you've done the right-of-way acquisition for that part?
Mark can probably speak better to this than I can, but once we do the design work, you know, Jerome gets it laid out, does the design, that is the layout. So Once you secure that right of way, and like Mr. Gill said, if the project came in at 10 million, 12 million, whatever, and we decided we had to put that off for a bit, we would still have that right of way and the design already completed for in the future when we could proceed with the project. Correct. Yep. I got the thumbs up, so see, that's good.
But right-of-way has to be acquired prior to,
See, what happens is if we did design and started on the project and didn't have all the right-of-way done, you would end up costing yourself more money because you would have to skip around and move your
Right.
contractor and stuff like that. That's just not very
Okay.
a smart way to do it.
other questions?
This is the entire basin that we see in the map here. I mean, anything outside of this would be in the Stewart's Creek Basin or the, I guess this one actually comprises the Rock Springs Basin is.
Different basin.
Different basin, yeah.
Kevin, do you think it is possible that the Gresham Smith thing will be back prior to meeting?
I think it's very possible. And talking with Michael Flatt, he said he wanted the two gentlemen who work for him that are actually doing the study to come out and meet with us and be sure they know exactly what we're talking about and really look at the area and that sort of thing. We had tentatively said that they would be coming out tomorrow morning, but I haven't confirmed that. So, but I think certainly, I mean, we're still 10, 12 days away from the council meeting. I think it's very likely that we would be able to meet with them sometime next week and nail that down before the actual council meeting.
I think the road portion of this is so important if we're looking at moving forward with the sewer. Are you all comfortable putting a placeholder on the agenda for the meeting in case those numbers come back that we can look at it prior to the meeting? Are you okay with that?
Yes, but just going to comment, the right-of-way will be significant. It's, last I heard, it's estimated 185 tracks. So
It's
that's
80.
80? Okay. Is still 80. Not even in our road projects do we have that many. So it's going to be significant. Now, it's not as much of a taking, obviously, but it's a significant amount of work. So that could, affect your timeline a little bit, just depending on how those go.
And we feel we've got enough budgeted to take care of all that.
Yes, I don't think it'll be a substantial cost as much as it is work.
Okay. Okay. So y'all are comfortable with putting a placeholder? I don't want it the day of. I want us to have a little time to look at it. So if we see that it's not going to give us enough time to look at it, then I'd rather put it off till the next meeting.
I'll call them again tomorrow and just try to firm up the time. Tom's been out this week, so I've been kind of taking it in his stead. So, but again, they were hopeful they could do something tomorrow. So I don't see why we couldn't do it next week if we could. They were hopeful to do it tomorrow. So.
If one of the other concerns is flow in regards to CUD, is there anything we can do in the process to figure out how much we're talking about with that?
I think certainly we could talk to them and get ideas on what their lines that they have out there and what the flow is. And we can at least get that information, hopefully, from them. We can talk with them, Mark and I. Yeah, we'll do that.
How do they correct a problem like that? Do they just have to upsize the lines? That's all they can do?
Or tanks or something like that, yeah.
Is there a pressure or a volume?
Is it both? Okay.
Other questions or concerns about this? Okay, we'll move on to item 18, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with ACS Incorporated relative to delinquent court cost fine collections on behalf of the municipal court clerk. Jeff? Are you handling this one?
No, that is going to be Nathan.
Oh, Nathan, sorry.
Sorry.
Hey, Nathan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Great.
Mayor and Council, this is, we had solicited some RFPs back earlier this month and late last month to perform court collection services on behalf of the municipal court clerk. We reviewed the proposals on the 19th of June, and we all, I believe it was ACSI scored the highest out of the proposals, and we request that the mayor execute a contract with them to start collecting delinquent court costs and fines.
Questions for Nathan on this? Okay, we will put that on the agenda. Move on to item 19, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with, is it Savant? Savant Learning Systems, also known as Virtual Academy, relative to the police department training.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor and Council, this is a new program that we're starting this year. Virtual Academy is a training tool that is used by a lot of different police departments and sheriff's departments out there. And we've never had it, and I'd like to get it for our people. And it's strictly training from everything from leadership down to simple investigation type activities. And it covers both officers and dispatchers. And it's just a very good tool.
I actually had a discussion about this with my husband last night because Sheriff's Department is doing it. Is this going to be something that will be a requirement of everybody? How will y'all go about making sure?
Right now, we are in discussion about having it be a requirement for our state mandated courses, which are the child abuse and the mental illness. And so therefore, in turn, each officer would be given a certain amount of time during their shift, allowed to come in, get on the computer, do their training, and then go back to work. In regards to the specialized instruction, we are going to try to do a tier level where, for example, like a lieutenant and a sergeant could take a mid-level management class, but an officer that's been on the job for a year can't come in and take mid-level management. And so basically try to get those people, the younger officers, the rookie officers, get them more in line with some training more in line with their position and not so much as in, say, homicide investigation or something to that effect.
Does this keep them from having to go to classes? I mean,
No.
or us paying? So, okay.
No. In fact, this is just an addition, a supplement.
Okay. Questions for Chief on this? Thanks. Item 20 is approval of a taxi cab franchise for Mr. Larry Odom.
Yes, ma'am. That would be my office. Mr. Odom has met all the requirements to have a taxi cab franchise, and I have basically said that he's clear pending your approval.
It has been so long since we've had to do 2 years?
No.
Oh.
That's only the second one I've
Second
done
one.
in over 11 years.
Well, I was going to say, I remember us talking about this. It seems like quite a while ago, but didn't they have to be inspected on a yearly basis or something afterwards?
Not necessarily, I don't recall the yearly basis. They do have to be inspected occasionally, and right now we only have one individual who has a license here in town. And the way I understand the ordinance, and Mr. Peach can correct me, or Nathan, is if they are going to reside or their business is going to reside here, then they have to have this taxi cab franchise. Because we see taxi cabs coming through town all the time. But this will only be the second one that actually has a business here in town.
Questions for Chief on the taxi cab? Okay.
I will have him at the July council meeting if you want to.
Because we'll have a
question
public
him.
hearing that night.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Item 21 is appointment of one member to the Arts Commission Board to serve an unexpired term ending in 2020. This was the position that was vacated by Oliver Langston. And I don't know how many we've had so far. Raquel, do you know by chance?
I think it was only 2.
Just 2? Okay. So if you are interested in serving on the Arts Commission, the meetings are held the second Monday of each month, and you must be a resident of the town of Smyrna to apply. And applicants can apply directly on the town of Smyrna website. And if you have questions, you can contact Tiffany Lawson or Melissa Scott, thanks, for more information on the Arts Commission. So we will put that on the agenda. Item 22 is appointment of one town council representative to the Charity Assistance Fund Board to serve unexpired term ending in 2019.
Maybe we should,
First one to speak gets it.
no, first one that speaks out, I can tell you that. Well, never mind.
When does this board, what is their meeting schedule? Rex, do you know by chance?
They required to meet 3 or 4 times a year, I think. I don't think it's a monthly meeting.
But do you know when it starts?
Time of day?
No, time, like what month
Well, don't they give away their money and then they don't have any money to give, so they don't have to do anything the rest of the year?
Well, they meet periodically because they have to review the different applications that come in, but they don't meet right every 12.
But I guess
all
my
12 months.
question for that is, when is the next meeting coming up, and how soon do we need to make this appointment? Can you find that information out?
I'll find that out, 'cause I just
Okay, if
just
you'll
don't
find
know.
it out and let us know, that would be great. So we will put a placeholder on the agenda, and we'll also remember that Mark spoke first. Item 23, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the amendment to joint operations agreement, second amended, for the Smyrna Rutherford County Airport Authority. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, was contacted, actually spoke with Mr. Gill first, and then ultimately spoke with Jeff Reed with the Airport Authority. This will not change anything for the town. However, they needed in writing some documentation for covering the employees of the Airport Authority under the Rutherford County insurance plan. So they just asked that we pass this so that they can ensure that all of their employees keep the county insurance.
Questions for Jeff on this? Okay. Then item 24 is discussion relative to the appointment of a council member to fill the vacancy. So Jeff went over last time what our options are in regards to filling the vacancy. We can choose to leave it open until the November election. That position is up for, was going to be up whether Lori resigned or not. So I guess we need to have some discussions as to, do we want to look to fill the vacancy between now and November, or do we want to leave it open? I will tell you personally, I would like to see us fill that position and to have a full council, but I'm very open to whatever you all want to do.
Well, I tend to agree with you, and it's almost like we're all taxed at how many boards and committees we're having to serve on as it is anyway, so it'd be nice to have somebody to be able to help us with that. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I think we should move forward with filling it because, I mean, you can see we're one person short tonight because of, a family, not matter, I guess family matter that they're in, and rightfully so, they should be there. But I think we lose a lot out when we don't have a full and robust council up here as far as opinions and debate and decision-making. And I guess ultimately, I would hate to see anything fail because of a tie. I really would. So I think it should be filled. I think the length of time is fairly significant, and I think we need to move forward with it.
Anything else?
Nope.
In thinking the possibility of filling the position, I talked with Jeff Peach about how we would go about opening that up. And one of the things that we talked about was similar to what we do for boards and committees, that there's an application put online that someone who's interested in filling that position could go online. I've had them put one of those here on your desk, so you all should have that, I think.
See that?
You see it?
Nope.
Nope. Keep looking. Maybe not.
I received an email from.
Oh, maybe it was
Lanza.
the email. Okay. Then you should have an email that has it on there. And it was actually sent from John Lanza because John actually acted as if he was filling it out so you could see it. So you should have it on your email. And just so you know, it goes into the qualifications. It talks about that you shall be a qualified voter of the town and at least 21 years of age. You shall hold no other elected public office, and he or she shall have been a resident of the town of Smyrna for 1 year, and they cannot hold any other elected public office or any other town office or employed by the town during the time at which they are a member of the town council. Also on here is a place for their name, their address, if they plan to seek the office in November of 18, because that seat will be up in November, and then do they have any potential conflicts. Ask how long they live, where they're employed, those sorts of things. So are you all okay with this going out and being put out as of tomorrow? And it would have to be returned by July, what is the Friday before our council meeting?
That would be like the 8th?
July the 6th. So it would have to be returned by July the 6th to give us enough time to make a decision prior to, or at least look over the applications to be able to make a decision on July the 10th. So Jeff, talk us through if we felt like we had an applicant that we wanted to appoint on the 10th, if we chose somebody, what then would be the process?
Then as you do with your appointment of boards, the collective council would, you take nominations and you would appoint whoever you wanted. And then obviously, would pretty much be effective immediately. We'd want to have that person sworn in, obviously, but they would be ready to go after swearing in.
So we could swear in prior to the workshop, the
Yes.
July workshop to set for
Yes.
August, if we had an applicant we all were comfortable with.
Yes.
Would you all be comfortable with that schedule?
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
I checked my email to see if I had a copy of the application just to look at it, and I don't have anything from
It's
John
going to show
Lanza.
from Webmasters what I'm seeing.
I don't see it either.
And so I did want to at least look at it
Absolutely.
before that goes out tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I don't see that it went to you either.
I don't see it either.
Okay.
Jeff, do you have it?
Can you
I've got it on me.
forward
I can forward it from
Can
email.
you forward it, please?
I will.
So, if you all would look over that and just pop Jeff an email that says you're okay with it, then we'll wait to move forward with putting the application online until you all are comfortable with the application. If there's something that you'd like changed, if you'll let Jeff know that, then Jeff could send something out to council. Is everybody good?
So if we can let them know like in the next 24 hours so that there's still enough time to get it out by,
Perfect.
say, July 1.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And we'll just make sure John does not post it online until that happens. And if there's somebody out there that is interested in possibly being appointed to our town council from now until November, as soon as the application is put online, you will be able to fill that out, and you'll have until July the 6th to do that, and then we will take that into consideration at our meeting on the 10th. Okay, other. I didn't see anything under other tonight. Nope. Okay, then we will move on to our department reports. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. Very briefly, and I've had to say this before, and I'm going to have to say it again. We are getting absolutely worn out with the auto burglaries in town, where individuals are not locking their car doors at night. And a majority of these cases, there's a weapon involved. There are guns in the cars that people are leaving in their cars, and now these guns are out on our streets. I'm asking, please, please, please take your valuables out of your car, and please lock your car up at night. I mean, we're averaging 25 to 40 a week. And I mean, they're killing us. And I mean, we're making arrests and we're recovering some property here and there, But with that number, it's just, I mean, our solvability factor is usually around 40%. So every 4 out of 10 we're getting. So, but again, I'm just asking everyone, please take your things out of your car and please lock your car doors at night. Other than that.
Questions for Chief? Talk a little bit about fireworks ordinance?
Yes, Steve.
Oh, sorry,
Obviously,
Steve.
I'm,
Did I
I'm
steal your
stealing
thunder?
Steve's
Sorry.
thunder here. July 3rd, 9 until 10. The 4th, 9 until 11. And then July 5th, 9 a.m. until 10. We have made sure that every tent has a copy of this ordinance. And, of course, we are starting to get the complaints and the occasional one, no, it's not a firework, I know it's a gun kind of complaint. So we're getting those.
Thanks, Chief. Greg's sitting in for Tom tonight. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me to talk a little bit about our boat day. And for the last 11 years, we have been doing a great job of educating the citizens of Middle Tennessee about the importance of having clean water by inviting them to our Water Fest, which is our exhibit, our 2 tents provided by the fire department, and our boat day, where there's an opportunity to learn how to kayak and canoe on the river. We've been looking at a record of about 364. We've been looking at Murfreesboro's lower 400s, and I said, let's at least beat Murfreesboro this time around. We did so. In fact, we shattered the record of Murfreesboro and ours with 523 participants. Wow. You cannot do that by yourselves. We have a lot of partners, and I'd like to take just a few minutes just to recognize those folks that do help us, most of them every year. In the Water Fest itself, where the water display exhibits are, TWRA comes by about every 5 or 6 years and has live fish displays where they actually go out and shock fish in the lake and bring them in to their tanks, and the kids have a great time looking at what is actually in the lake. SOAC has been a great partner with us. Courtney and her staff have been wonderful partners. Bonnie Irvin with our Project WET, which is an educator that's in all of the schools in the county, comes to all of these. TDEC comes with in the representation of Scotty Sorrells with groundwater. So now not only do we have the surface water covered, we have groundwater covered as well, because we all know that they're interconnected. We have boats that are provided to us through Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, SOAC, the Stones River Watershed Association, and many citizens throughout the community provide us canoes and kayaks every year. Our main partners are Stones River Watershed Association, the Rotary Club, the Fire Department, the Corps of Engineers, the Street Department, and Buildings and Grounds. And I would also like to take a quick shout out to folks like Lonnie Williamson, Gore Irvin, Derwin Brownlow, Mitch Winsman, and Josh Upham, who are our spotters. They actually float out on the water and make certain everybody's safe. I'd also like to point out to you that there are employees here that take time, about maybe 6 or 7 hours out of their Saturdays once a year to help us. Sierra Nolan, Melanie Brown and her family, Danita Hunt and her daughter Lauren, Tiffany Lawson, Dwayne Lawson of course, Tammy Thal, Kay Charles, and Mitch Winsman. And I would also like to point out, and I think we're going to do this at the end of the meeting, as far as the drawing, for the past 5 years, Academy Outdoor and Sports has provided us with a kayak. The last 4 years, this year they've provided, it was with really 2 nice kayaks. We have one out in the lobby that you all probably saw before you came in. We will be, the mayor and the two town managers will be helping us select those 2 winners tonight so that we can contact them and arrange for Academy to give those boats to them in their store. And we'll have coverage. John will be there with us. That's all I have.
Great. Greg, we really appreciate all you do to make Boat Day happen and your enthusiasm for the event. So thank you for all you do. Steve?
I always do hear good things about it, Greg.
Oh, yeah. Steve?
It's going to be hard to follow that. I was going to mention the fireworks. Of course, Chief has already done that. Only other thing I had to mention was we just had, just to give you an idea, I know you know there's a lot of construction. Here's a kind of a way to visualize it. Same period from last year to this year, we have building plans coming through our office for plan review. We're up over 53% just in the same period last year. So we have a lot of projects coming through our offices now.
Questions for Steve? Thanks, Steve. Jeff?
Mayor, Council, the HR department's been busy. We have sent out pay notices to all our employees, letting them know about their pay for next year. That went out last week and the first part of this week. We have started posting new positions for next fiscal year, so we're going to start drumming up some more applications here in the next couple of days. Also excited to mention that our employee wellness platform is going to be kicking off in July. We're incorporating that into our online platform that has our performance appraisal system, our discipline process. So thankful to the IT department for working with us on that. That's going to be a nice program for our employees.
Great. I'll tell you something I heard the other day again that really frustrates me, and I've even heard it said by a couple of employees that really bothers me, is that we've not given pay raises in years, and I guess I just don't understand where individuals can think that. And so just for citizens out there and all to know, that is not an accurate statement.
That is correct. Only once in the last 10 years that I can think of did we not do anything whatsoever. So,
yeah. So just frustrating to hear that.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Questions for Jeff?
Jeff, I know we've kept you pretty busy recently, and I just want to tell you we appreciate keeping us informed and going through some of the processes we've had to go through HR and with Brian, and welcome in, Brian. Thank you for being here. And of course, we did Mr. Peach's evaluation today, and salaries and pay and so forth, and we've kept you hopping, so thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
And one thing I did forget to bring up when we were doing Jeff's evaluation is we probably need to look at moving that probably to April. I really don't want us to be doing town manager and town attorney at the same month. But to be able to get it to Rex, and so that Rex has the numbers for budget and all, I think it'd be best if we move that to April. So can you make sure calendar-wise we put that? And we'll do it prior to the April workshop every year, if that's okay with you guys. Does that work? Jeff, good with you? Okay. Okay, Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. As you well know, Tuesday, July 3rd will be our Independence Day celebration. And I would like to go ahead and thank all the departments that's involved in that in advance. They just, like Greg said, there's some things you just can't do yourself, and there's many of our events that takes more than one department and a lot of volunteers. So that will be happening. Festivities will start at 5 o'clock and go through 9:30 that night, so it's always a special night for this town. And when the Coos Memorial up there, it's going to be a better view than ever across the street there. Also, just an update on our Greenway construction. I put in my director's report that goes out to you guys. We've got stone on about a quarter mile or more there. But just for people that's wondering where that's at, it's out Jefferson Springs Recreation Area is kind of where they've started. But you'll, when that's completed, you'll be able to start at the outdoor center and go all the way to Jefferson Springs Recreation Area on a bike or jogging or whatever. And that'll have a trailhead out there. So that's something the committee put together a long, long time ago, back in 2000 or 2001. And for those that remember, I'm just glad that that's happening. Also, we had a bid on our Cedar Stone Park. We had one bidder on that. That shows you how busy everybody is. I will be meeting with that construction company tomorrow, just to kind of go through their bid and cost, and just make sure we know exactly what they've given us the cost breakdown on, and what that means. So we'll be doing that tomorrow afternoon. And also, I just want to say to our staff, we've got a lot going on, just like everybody else up here, but they're doing a fantastic job of juggling projects and operations and leagues and everything else that goes along with that. And again, that's not just the Parks Department. We get a lot of help, and a lot of them's the department heads up here that help, and my bosses and you guys. So we appreciate it, and see it every day. But when it gets close to Independence Day, I really see how important it is everybody works together.
Questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Kevin?
Yeah, we got planning commission next week, so we got several items again, and probably several that will be coming to you all. We did have public meetings last week on our downtown master plan. I think it wasn't as well attended as I had hoped, but we did have several people there. They were all very active and participating very much in the process, and so we are still, that's still a work in progress, but we had some good input last week. And just tentatively, we've set up July 19th to have a similar type meeting for our comprehensive plan update. So that will be, we'll be getting some more publicity and everything out about that soon, but that is coming up on July 19th at the event center.
I should have asked Steve Smith and forgot to. I've been asked quite a few times about when Steak and Shake is going to open. Do you have any idea?
I do not.
No? Okay.
Steve's gone, I guess. Okay.
Okay. It's been the question
I
of
know.
the week.
It was forever, when's it coming, and now it's here or on
When's
the
it
way,
open?
and when's it going to open? So
Yep.
I do not know.
Okay. Chief, you on it? No. Any questions for Kevin? Mike?
Yes, ma'am. McKim and Creed still working through the I&I project. They had smoke testing scheduled for yesterday, today, and tomorrow, but due to the rain, that's going to be rescheduled probably next week. Just a reminder, when the project's done and we get all the things moving, we will be doing a study in the downtown area there and submitting for a CDBG grant, which will be awarded in February. We believe we do have a really good shot at getting that, and then we will move into phase 1 of construction soon thereafter. So,
Questions for Mike? Thanks. Rex?
May local sales tax collected, $1,074,098. Year to date, that's $131,940 under budget. May state shared tax collected, $492,948. Year to date, that's $32,398 over budget. Just to let you know, the adopted budget has been posted to the town's website. We sent that budget to the comptroller for their review, and our auditors have begun their preliminary work, so we jumped right out of budget straight into audit.
Great. Questions for Rex?
You guys always do a good job with those audits, and just, I know it's a lot of work for you guys, but you stay on your toes. You can tell the audits come back pretty well, so.
Thank you. We got a good staff.
Yeah.
Robert?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. One thing I wanted to mention to the citizens and really to everyone, while it's always a concern, there seems to be a recent uptick in the number of, if you will, social engineering attempts for hackers to gain access to computer systems, whether they be personal systems or business systems. And so this is just a general announcement of check your email. If it looks too good to be true, if something looks out of place, a little odd, it's probably not what you think it is. It's probably not what it's making itself out to be, and should probably be just deleted. We've actually, at a GNRC meeting recently, there was a regional, one of our neighbor cities had a social engineering attack that affected some payroll information. So this is something that we take very seriously. We're looking at doing some things here within the town offices and whatnot. But this is something that's not just related to the city accounts and the city things, but everyone that has a computer account personally should be aware. And like I said, if it looks odd, looks too good to be true for an email, it probably is and should just be deleted. So that's my public service announcement for now.
Great. Questions for Robert? Thanks, Robert. Chief?
Mayor, Council, as Mr. Moss spoke about, we're getting ready for Tuesday night, July 3rd, our Independence Day celebration. We just completed our Youth Academy, the Fire and Police Department. It was very, very well attended, and appreciate the parents allowing the children to come and spend a week with us. And as you know, our new engine arrived a couple of weeks ago. We've had the factory training on it with all the drivers, and we're in the process of getting the equipment on it, and hopefully to have it in service very soon.
Questions for Chief? I was out of town when it came in. I really wanted to come down and visit, but hopefully I'll get by to see it soon.
Yes.
Where does this stay?
It'll probably go to Station 3, sir.
Which one's 3?
It's
the one after 2.
That's you. Gate out by Gate 9 of the Nissan plant, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Chief? Thanks,
SG, I didn't
Chief.
know which one it was either. I was just teasing you, so.
I think he changes the numbers every time he comes
Yeah.
in.
Nathan, anything?
No, ma'am.
Brittany? No, ma'am. Brian? Hal?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Parker? Oh, wait. Oh.
It was working for them.
Oh.
Just want to announce one thing. One of our favorite events that we're doing every year, this is our 5th year doing Drive, Chip, and Putt, July 18th. It's not too late to sign up. You can go to drivechipandputt.com. Boys and girls age 7 to 15. This is a regional qualifier where they go on to state qualifying. If they get through state qualifying, they get to go to Augusta National in April every year. And that has really become quite an extravagant event down at the Masters that they hold every year. But you can still sign up for it.
Questions for Hal? Thanks, Hal. Mark, anything?
No, ma'am.
We'll do yours right at the end. Go ahead.
I just want to reiterate something Steve Smith brought up. After 6 months, we've had 25 grading permits approved. Last year's record was 41 for the entire year.
Wow.
Does he get to
Since he doesn't come often, we'll let him do 2 tonight.
He's filling the role of 2 people.
That's
tonight,
right.
so.
That's right. Miss Diane?
So far, we've issued 38 new business licenses, and we're still dealing with the Department of Revenue to work out the glitches in their new system, and also with our DataQuest. They're trying to work it out together, so still a few problems there.
38 business license in what period?
So far in June,
In
from
June.
June 1st till today.
Wow.
And that doesn't include all the renewals. That's just the new ones that have just come in. And we work very closely with the codes department. We make them sign off on it to make sure they're in the right zone, and so we work closely with the codes.
Okay. Mr. Gill?
I'm good.
Mr. Peach?
The other thing, just noticed, I think I sent you an email as well, that we did put in a substantial amount of work of commenting to the Army Corps of Engineers for the rulemaking with the reservoir of Percy Priest. And you should have a copy of those. But that's one of the big things we did this month.
I'm actually doing an event tomorrow for the 50th anniversary of the dam. So, pretty interesting.
We need to thank Mr. Peach for his time invested in the ICMA. Your certification, 15-hour certification, I believe it was. Is it more than that?
15 week.
15 weeks?
Yes.
Was that an hour a week? No,
24 hours a day.
Okay, before I move on to council updates, Greg, do we want to go ahead and draw real quick? I think he needs a little help.
I think the mayor's capable of doing it.
Okay. I thought you might want to get in the limelight.
No, I just soon stay out of it.
Two.
Okay, so that one we're good.
Just make sure she
Other than
can
their
read
names.
the phone number and the name.
Is this one on?
And
That's a peach question. A staff member.
Yes,
They are?
They are allowed.
it's not a game of chance.
Okay. Okay, then we've got our two.
Jeff Page and Greg Upland.
So the first one is Jessica Rouse from Murfreesboro, and we've got her phone number here. And the second one is Dwayne Lawson from Smyrna. So they are our two kayak winners. So we will make sure that we get in touch with those individuals. I would say one will be less difficult than the other one. And I'll leave these for you,
Greg,
Greg.
just so you know, the council wants to be spotters next year.
Raquel.
I just want to say thank you all to all of the departments and all of the employees for all the hard work over the whole last year. You've all been very busy, and I think you all have been very good. What did I say? You're
I
whispering.
said you're not getting ready to resign too.
Oh,
are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
It was kind of the same lead-in.
No. Well, it was not intended as that. It was really just to say thank you all for all your hard work. That was it. And then you're going to talk about 4th of July, so.
Yes.
So we're good.
HC?
I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th. And also I want to wish my co-counsel person here a happy birthday on the 5th of next week. So
Thank
in
you.
advance.
Appreciate that.
We'll have a big celebration for her on the 3rd.
Yeah.
But you have to come.
Feels so special.
Tim?
Yeah, happy birthday, Raquel. I didn't know your birthday was the 5th. You'll probably get a call from the mayor. Just she calls me every year, and I'm kind of surprised. You know, it makes my day.
Calls me once a year too.
Yeah. And
I don't
again,
know why. No, I'm just kidding.
happy 4th of July to everyone. Look forward to seeing everyone out at the park on the 3rd. It's a big day for us, Chiefs, Parks. I mean, all you guys, thank you in advance. You guys do a tremendous job of putting this on. And it's, it's one of the centerpieces of what we do as a town here. And man, there'll be, 3, 4, 5,000 folks out there. It's going to be a crowd.
Should be close to 8.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Mark?
Kevin, thank you for holding town hall meetings and getting the public's input. I couldn't be there because I was at the Chiefs meeting that evening, and thank you, Chief, for having kind of a public meeting about the police department, and obviously the strengths and the weaknesses were discussed, and I love that we can have that open conversation. I can tell you the strengths are much, much, much more than any weaknesses that were pointed out, so we appreciate you doing that. July 4th, obviously, I want to say, Happy Independence Day, and beyond that, thank our veterans, thank the people that have served our country and given us the freedom that we celebrate independence with. Happy birthday, Raquel, ahead of time. The Motlow fundraiser was a lot of fun for those of us that went. It was a good cause. I know you were on vacation, you were out of town, you weren't able to be there, but most of us were there, and they raised quite a bit of money for the new building. So thank the committee that put that together for Motlow. And lastly, just keep in mind tonight the shooting that happened in Maryland earlier today, and just pray that that never happens to any of us and our families, and our prayers go out to all of them. So that's all I have.
I have a couple of items. The first one is the Independence Day celebration. We're talking about Tuesday the 3rd. It starts at 5 and is over by 10. There'll be music, food, and fun activities at Lee Victory Recreation Park, and it's located at 110 Sam Ridley Parkway. Kids can play on inflatable playgrounds or take a train ride provided by CNR Railroad. You can bring a picnic or buy from any of the on-site concessions and enjoy live music featuring Second and Vine, and then you can get ready for Smyrna's highlight of the year, which is our annual fireworks show. And it is scheduled to take place at
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, And the following roads will be closed from 8:45 to 9:45 because of the fireworks show. Sam Ridley at Fitzhugh Boulevard, Sam Ridley at Nolan Drive, and Sam Ridley at Threet Industrial Road. We good with everything? Don't forget Farmers Market every Saturday from 8 to 12 through September the 15th. In regards to the Captain Coos Memorial, we are still selling pavers. We're going to do another buy for those at the end of July. So if you are still interested in purchasing a paver, you can do that through Mobile Cause or through the Smyrna Town Hall website, or you can contact Amber Hobbs or Tiffany Lawson for details. We also still have the Captain Jeff Coos shirts available here at Town Hall or at the SOAC Center, and we'll also have a booth set up at the Independence Day celebration. They are $15 for all sizes except for 2X and 3X. Those are $20. And magnets are with the number 6 or $5, and the decals are $3. I also want to offer condolences to Dole Bradford and his family. For those of you who know Dole, he's with our Parks and Recreation Department, and Dole's daughter passed away suddenly early this morning, Mike? This afternoon. So if you will keep Dole and his family in your thoughts and prayers. There is nobody better than Dole. Always has a smile on his face and always willing to go the extra mile. So his family needs a lot of strength and support right now. The next time that we have a meeting, Brian will be on board. You start Monday? Monday. And we're excited to have you. Mr. Gill, if you can just make sure over the next 60 days that he's getting updated on everything and attends the meetings with you, that would be great. And directors, just to get him updated, anything that of correspondence, if you send it to Mr. Gill, if you also can CC Brian, he's already got a town email set up. I think that'll help him in the process of learning everything that's going on. He's going to be drinking from a fire hose for a while. But we have no doubt that that he will get acclimated very quickly. So I know you all will help him.
Pressure though, Brian, it won't be that bad.
No.
Not out in Olive Branch anyway.
Anything else? If not,
the barbecue, downtown barbecue thing? It's just time to start making preparations for that, I would say.
August 18th.
August 18th.
Okay, anything else? Oh, if you got your Tennessee magazine from Middle Tennessee Electric, there was a really nice write-up about the Jeff Coos Memorial. So if you've got it laying around, make sure you look at it. We really appreciate them coming out and
Terrific job by Amber Hobbs.
She did. Amber's done a great. Amber and Tiffany both have done an amazing job throughout the entire project.
So ask Tim, didn't you go to that Contour Air?
Oh, yeah.
We did. Want to talk a little bit about Contour?
Sure. You know, exciting news in that we have a commuter airline at Smyrna Airport. And they have trips to Tupelo for $19 each way. They have charters. Yeah.
In case you don't want to come back.
In case you don't want to come back. They do have charters, and I mean, it's a huge investment into our town, and again, one of the gems that we have here is our airport. So it was a great ribbon cutting, and they brought the jet up, extremely nice, seats 30. You can actually, Mr. Gill, rent it for $8,000 per flight hour. So if you could get 29 of your best friends there, it's a deal.
How fast?
Fly fast.
If it's an hour.
I like the idea of the $19 flight. You
Yeah,
fly down,
Tupelo.
$38 and fly around for most of the day.
Where can I get in 15 minutes?
Well, you're gonna have to go to Tupelo.
Isn't that where Elvis was born or something?
That's right. And they're also great helpers in the community.
Yes.
I mean, they're always willing to step up to help. So, good guys. Okay, anything else? Nothing else? We are adjourned.